In this video, we're going to be looking at the October garden tours for the front and side gardens. A few things have happened, things have changed. Major work has happened this week in the garden, which is, I know, unusual. I expect a slow clap here. You can even make it a little sarcastic with an eye roll and just a little bit. But yeah, stuff has happened. We have a bloomer right now, an interesting bloom that I look for every year. And things are kind of off kilter, but we'll talk about that after this. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. So good morning and welcome to Bowtie Life. I'm Bowtie David and you are in our Bowtie Gardens. It's a lot of bow ties, isn't it? Well, to make it even more bow ties, I'm Bowtie Handyman when I'm not on camera. Anyway, so we are looking at the garden tour. We have passed the 2.5-year mark, and this is month number 31 in a row that we've done the 3-part garden tours. First part is these front and side gardens. Second part is the outer gardens in the backyard. Third part is the raised beds in the backyard, which is in the middle of the backyard. We bought this property right at 3 years ago this month, and moved in like the day after we bought it. But we've been converting a blank slate into as many garden beds as I can in that time. And so I've tried logging things, I've tried the apps, I've tried paper notebooks, I've tried photography, and nothing has tweaked my brain cells the way making these videos does. And that's why I do these. So you're invited along on my own personal journal on this slightly breezy morning, and follow along with the progress in the garden. I show everything in the exact same order every single month, so you can actually go through to the same place each month to the same garden tour and see how things progress very quickly. And I do that. I actually go in and look at these things on a regular basis to see where things work and how things are working, and what my experiments are coming out to, and so forth. So it's I find it very interesting to go back and look at my videos to see the progress on things like that. And whew, you can see the slope that we have in our front yard. I'm right on a little step down. Anyway, so yeah, I like these incremental things because I refer to these things frequently, almost a weekly basis. And like I said, you're welcome to come along. I'm glad you're here. In fact, please subscribe so you don't miss anything else. Those of you who have subscribed, I thank you. You are my heroes. You have made Bowtie Life what it is today. We are, as of this second, we are officially monetized. You can actually send a thanks in to help keep the garden going, and everything that comes through the thanks actually goes directly to the garden. Mrs. Bowtie and myself, we work full-time on other jobs, and so we don't need any of the money for living with, but I'm more than happy to sink something back into the garden itself. So that's what the thanks is all about right now, and that will be developing in the future. We are continuing to grow. As you're watching this, please use the comments to share your experiences, ask questions. That's what they're there for. I love hearing from y'all, and I love responding. I've learned stuff from y'all, so don't hesitate to comment below. I will refer to other channels, other videos. I try to get those in the cards, which is the little letter I and the circle in the upper right hand corner of the screen. On some devices you'll have to go down to the description. Some platforms you have to go down to the first comment to get to links to those other videos. So be sure to look around depending on where you're at. Some of you have noticed that I am working on getting more integrated into Instagram and Facebook. We are actually uploading videos on different platforms now, and I finally figured it out. I've been having some technical issues for 2.5 years. My brain doesn't process the computer problems as well as they used to, and I'm a slow walk, folks, but I'll eventually get there. So we are starting to post these videos on those other platforms. I'm very excited about that. I can't tell you how excited I am. I've been wanting to integrate Instagram and Facebook more, and we're working on that. I don't know about the other platforms as of right now. If you're watching this sometime in the future, well, like our preacher says, if you quote me, date me, because it might change. I don't know. We're trying to grow, and we're trying to find our channel's place on this massive community that is so exciting to be a part of. So, let's get on with it. One of the first things I talk about, in fact, I'm going to step a little closer here. One of the first things I talk about is the weather. And the weather has been gorgeous. As of right now, this is October 5th. As of this moment, we actually have a massive system brewing in the Gulf of Mexico, which is 7 blocks that way, and it's generating a lot of rainfall. In fact, I was going to record this garden tour yesterday, and it rained all day, and I didn't feel like recording in there. I did actually do some work in the rain. You'll see that in a minute here, but I didn't want to do much more of I didn't want to do a garden tour in the rain. But today, oh, it is beautiful out here. I don't know what the temperature is exactly, so probably just a little above 70 degrees, which is about 22 degrees Celsius. Beautiful, beautiful day. Just gorgeous out here. It's overcast, which means the sun isn't beating down on me today. There's a little bit of wispy sun through some of the upper clouds, and then we get lower clouds. The past week has been like this. Our past several days have been like this. Rain off and on, which we get a lot of rain in Florida here. We are in Destin, Florida, and right on the coast. And so we're used to this. We have sand for soil. We are standing on, I don't know how deep a sand. I've dug as far as 5 or 6 feet. Still sand. So I know it's at least 5 or 6 feet deep. And when it rains, stuff drains immediately. Nothing sticks around for long. So it's very interesting. I've lived on the coast before. Never sand quite like this. It's very interesting. It's a unique sand. This white sand here in Destin, Florida, comes out of the Appalachian Mountains in Georgia and Alabama and on up in there. It washes down. It's made this delta underneath the Gulf, huge, 150, 200 miles out in every direction. Just pure white sand. It's gorgeous, feels good. It doesn't pack, which is kind of cool. But anyway, that's the weather, the way the weather's been. We're going to talk a little bit more about the summer's weather when we look at the trees, because I had a conversation with my neighbor over here on the corner, and he's told me about it, and I did the research and I confirmed it. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get to the trees, because it's actually appropriate for the trees. Moving right along, let's see. We are on a quarter acre, right at a quarter acre, which is about 100 feet wide and 106 feet deep. Here you can see on this map, it's a regular urban lot. We are in the middle of Old Destin, and this area I'm surrounded by phenomenal neighbors. I am so blessed to have so many great people, and they help us out and everything else. One thing on production notes I want to say, by the time you see this, Mrs. Bowtie and I will be embroiled in the big project we've been talking about for a few months now. It is the culmination of about 10 years of planning, and we're very excited to be getting on with that project. So as we do every month, we're going to have this thumbnail of the property, which is an aerial view of the property, and it's going to go down here in the lower right corner of the screen. And there's this icon that represents the camera. The circle here represents the camera itself. The arrow shows which way it's pointing. That's going to go on the little map in the corner, and that is what we're going to be. You'll be able to see exactly where we are on the property. Now I go through, like I said earlier, I go through this process the exact same order every single month, and it's my obsessive compulsive way, and it just does my brain well. It allows me to go back and find the things I need to find quickly, and that little thing in the corner is really for me, but again, you are so welcome to join along and see the progress in the garden. How about we get on with it? So the place that we always start these garden tours, the zombie wood chip pile. I call it that because we had a wood chip pile here, I used it up, and then we got another wood chip pile immediately after I was almost done with the first one, because we were setting up the beds in our property. However, okay folks, are you ready for this? Brace yourselves. This has been years in the making. Been about 3 years. Oh, now you already saw that sidewalk in last month's garden tour, which is very exciting, but you'll notice I've even found the edge over here and dug out even more. Right now I'm just throwing it up in this garden bed, and we're going to talk about this garden bed in a second, but this is old rotted trees. In fact, most of this stuff, there's a stump right there in my neighbor's yard, and most of this, a lot of this, oh no, that was the initial pile. No, it wasn't the initial pile. A lot of this came from there, and more came from a tree that used to be above my neighbor's house over here. And so, yeah, lots of highly composted stuff in there. And this stuff has been sitting for years. There is no nitrogen bound up in the wood. It is long got all of the nitrogen that it needed, and it is processed. It's nutrient rich. We are going to be supplementing this bed with our regular compost, so just be sure to subscribe, because sometime in the next 3 months we will be getting loads of our regular compost that is free, keyword free. Some of this is actually going to go back in one of the beds in the back, and we'll do that on camera as well. But I did want to show you here, I'm very pleased with this. I got out here, I shoveled in the rain yesterday, and I wanted to get some progress on this. I got the sidewalk exposed, and one of my neighbors walking by the other day thanked me for giving the community back their sidewalk. Yes, I know, I'm a bad neighbor. But I have such good neighbors all around me. Okay, so we have this new bed here. I say new bed. This bed has been here for 3 years now. It was the strawberry bed, and this year it is going to be used to grow okra. Plans for a new crop in here. Well, not a new. We actually grew okra. In fact, right through there, you can almost see the colorful corner of the old okra bed in the back of the house. That is where we had the okra before, and we are going to be moving it up here because okra loves sun, and I have a feeling it might do better here. It may be a mistake. We are in Florida, the panhandle of Florida, so we do get a lot of sun, and I want to do a few rows of okra this next year with a Florida weave to keep them upright, and we'll see how that goes. That'll be a totally new experience for me. We don't have that mint plant in here anymore. It will come back, don't worry. But we do have the first of our pomegranate trees. There's a few pomegranates up there. Neighbors have come and taken pomegranates from this tree and a couple of the other trees, which that is totally what I intended. And we didn't collect any pomegranates ourselves this year, but it's looking good. I got a few suckers down there that I'm going to have to pull out. But it is looking as good as it's been for the past 3 years. It's never been a very big tree. Back here behind, we have our one rosemary plant. That's the only other thing left in this whole bed. I want to say there used to be something else right there. Maybe not. I can't remember. But yeah, this rosemary plant was wonderful, or it still is wonderful. I cut it. It gets bushier every time I cut it, and it's been a while since I've cut it. But it's just one of several rosemary plants. Coming back here a little further, we have our brown turkey fig tree. Now folks, this is October. Leaves are falling off this thing. Number one, because it's October, and that's what they do this time of year, but also because I still have not placed this in the ground. And this is going to be going in the ground probably next month. And we're getting ready to rebuild the fence that's right here. I want to build a big gate so I can park my trailer back behind there. And so yeah, this is hopefully going in the ground, and hopefully will look better next year. Fig trees do lose all their leaves here in the winter, so that is normal. So the mums by the front door. Okay, this is kind of exciting because these things are about to burst with glory. Look at these little buds in there. They're getting ready to come out. There's going to be a second wave of buds in here. The other one is about the same. It's actually just a little bit ahead. We do get these sycamore leaves, and stick around for where we look at the trees, because I want to talk about this year's weather here in Destin, Florida. It's very interesting. But look at these flowers. They are just getting ready to blow up and explode everywhere. We have yellow, because yellow is one of our primary colors here. Yellow and purple is our two primary colors in the garden that I like to focus on, though we have lots of colors. Anyway, the hedges are getting on the edge of being trimmed. I may be able to get those done this weekend. I will have to see. Oh, look at the little brown showing up there in the distance. We'll talk about that when we get over to the grape arbor. After the hedges, we head over to our next fig tree. Now, this is not a brown turkey. I don't know what kind it is. It is from a friend's house, and it is going to need a little bit of trimming this year. This, in fact, this little Y right here, that whole branch is going to be coming off. It's getting a little bit too far over into the windmill, and I'm not crazy about that. We'll do that on video most likely, but there's plenty of other branches to support in there and grow new growth in there, so I'm not really worried about it. One thing I want to show you though, these brown leaves. In fact, I saved this brown leaf for this video. This is, you'll see the rust. This is rust on here. The rust is what happens to fig trees at this time of year. Now, it is slightly ahead this year. It's ever so slightly ahead, and we're going to talk about why it's slightly ahead when we talk about the American sycamore in a few minutes. But when they get to this point here, they literally just fall off. I don't have to do this, but I'll go in and help it with some of the worst leaves and kind of get it going. You can slow down the rust by taking off the old ones. You can also, I have used copper fungicide. It's a fungus. I've used copper fungicide on this and done really good. In fact, we had one tree a couple of years ago that was getting it real early, and I managed to stave it off for another month or so, and we got more good green leaves on it. But this thing has been here. It's one of the, I think it's the second fig tree we put on the property almost 3 years ago. So I'm very, very pleased with this. It's exactly where I wanted it. And when we bought this property, I had visions of what I wanted here that were just super clear. And one of them was the location of this tree and how I wanted to make it a goblet shape and grow just like this. So it really is a kind of a dream tree for me. I love this tree. Right outside our front door. Underneath here, we have our old artichoke bed. And of course, I've mentioned this a couple of times. This bed over here is going to be used for something else. I've already mentioned in a previous garden tour that I want to plant sunflowers here. There is some thyme in here. That's this thing. It's a low growing plant that kind of crawls across the ground, and I try to give it a little space every once in a while so that it can grow and develop and become more than what it is. So it is a good, I can smell it. Oh my goodness, I can smell it. It is a great smelling plant. It's thyme, folks. It's T-H-Y-M-E, you know, the spice, herb, whatever. So anyway, there's the main stem, but it roots in wherever it touches the ground, and I try to keep it low. It'll crawl in an area like that. So right here we have some Amaryllis, and these things are kind of buried, which is what happens to them this time of year. I do try to keep them uncovered just like the thyme. And this is some of our original Amaryllis that we had. So they will thrive. There's a watering head that's gotten off of its little bracket. There we go. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay, after the Amaryllis and the windmill, we have one of our Yarrow, and it's still flowering. This thing flowers off and on all summer. It's beautiful. Has these wispy branches in here that's very beautiful looking. It grows some grass in the middle of it, and you pull it out. I'm supposed to be cutting off these dead branches as low as I can. At some point, I think I'm supposed to cut the whole thing off closer to the ground. I haven't got that far yet, folks. I haven't learned that bit yet. Okay, yes, so this here, I tried artichokes here. It was a failure, and I wasn't happy with it, and so I want to try to make a sunflower bed here. I have a whole bunch of old sunflower seeds that I'm going to use. Next, we have this row over here, which is the Sunchokes. Jerusalem Artichoke, or sunroot. I like the name sunroot. It's the original Native American name for it. But sunroot is very important. It is a perfect food for diabetics. If you're diabetic like me, then you should pay attention to this, because sunroot is the perfect replacement for potatoes. If you follow your blood sugar, you know that potatoes drive your blood sugar up, and these things cook just like potatoes, and I mean just like potatoes. And if I come down here, I don't know if I can find any. It is a root vegetable. I'm not going to do that. It's a bit early. These things grow up, and they're a little behind right now. They are supposed to be probably twice as tall as they are now. By now, I've already tied string around these to keep this all together, but it's not doing that yet. And it's partially because of our weather this summer. And that's what I want to go to now. So I'm going to put the camera on a tripod and show you a different perspective of the property. So each month I'd like to come in here and make a overview of my trees. And I'm actually including the neighbor's tree over here right now. You'll notice their leaves are really starting to show some stress over here. And even our sycamore tree up here, this is starting to show some stress as well. Now this is all about a month ahead of schedule. And my friend over there and I were talking about it, and he's a retired ship captain, so he watches the weather as close as Mrs. Bowtie and myself. We always have. But he said that we've had a lot more consecutive hot days here in Destin, and I didn't believe him at first. I thought, I'm going to go verify that, and that's what I do. I got online, and you know what? I verified it. And interestingly enough, our hot weather normally starts in June, our 90-degree weather, but we get breaks from it. It gets back down in the 80s and occasionally touches 70. I look back over the previous 4 years and saw the pattern that we get these occasional breaks. This year, the 90-degree weather started in the end of May, and we didn't get any breaks at all. In fact, the chart, let me see if I can pop one up on the screen here. The chart of one of the months here for this year, the highs and lows are just so close to each other, which I've talked about over and over, with the Gulf of Mexico that way and the big Choctawhatchee Bay that way. Our weather, our temperatures are very moderated, and we don't get the swings that they get just 10 miles in that direction on shore. And so this year, though, we started those 90-degree temps about 30 days early, and they stayed there. No breaks until just recently. They stayed there the whole time. And so it really surprised me that it was that different. And so then I went back and looked at the 80-degree temperatures, and the 80-degree temperatures for our area, they started back in the middle of April and almost stayed through May, which means the higher temperatures started 30 to 45 days earlier this year, and they stayed there until the middle of September. and that's the longest. And so these trees are showing a little more stress than they normally do. These leaves are a little bit ahead. The Jerusalem Artichokes down here, they're a little behind. The Crepe myrtle right here, there are no blooms on it, which is about 30 days behind, are ahead. Those blooms just kind of weathered out and disappeared. So this year has been interesting. It hadn't been an overly hot summer, but it has been consistently hot as compared to previous years. So I did the research, and last year at this time we had a few little spots of pink left at this point in time. And look, there's no pink left on these crepe myrtles at all. And so yeah, everything is ahead this year. I'm very excited to see what happens. You know, sometimes next year will be different. It'll affect next year's weather. It'll snap back and be a cooler one. Have a few little ways here, but oh, by the way, yeah, we had a lot of work done here, and we had 9 trash cans of full, overflowing with debris that we pulled out. In fact, you probably already noticed that a lot of stuff has been cut back and pulled. You'll see more back there a little ways in just a few minutes. But also, I think this decorative pear tree, it has not put out a single shoot in a while. It's still pretty solid. I'm waiting for this thing to rot off at the roots where I can just push it over and break it off. It was blocking. In fact, if I come over this way, this is the direction the morning sun comes up into this bed right here. And we're going to talk about what we're planting next year here. But I didn't like the way this thing blocked the sun so much. And it was kind of a trash tree. So I removed it so it would get more sun, and this bed, we'll talk about that in just a few minutes when we get there. The related pine tree, cedar, whatever it is, it never changes yet. The Pindo Date palm, in fact, it's kind of interesting because right now there is yet another branch. You see all those green things right there? Those are the Pindo Dates. Now, these are not your eating table grapes like you're used to. These are a little different. They're real pectiny. Like when they turn yellow, you stick one in your mouth. They have an interesting flavor. I like it. Some people like it. And so when you put it in your mouth, chew it up, get all the juice out. If you put a second one in the mouth, before you're done with the second one, you feel like you have a mouthful of dental floss. So you kind of have to spit out the fibrous part of it. So normally this is used, boiled the juices out and made jellies or wine out of. So Pindo Date is looking very good. I have not trimmed any of the dead branches out of here. I do need to do that. After the trees, I like to head over here to the pollinator beds. We have 2 pollinator beds, one in the front, one in the back of this tree. This front one, I have done a lot of cleanup. Now there's a lot of leaves in there right now, which is ground cover, but you can still see we have our zinnias. The zinnias are awesome. The bees love them. The monarch butterflies love them. We see all kinds of stuff on here, and I always talk about how I will take these heads, and like this one right here, that's a dead head, and we will take that, we'll break it off. Actually, here's a really ready one. We'll break that off, and we'll break apart. In fact, let me zoom in just a little bit here. We'll break apart that head. It's a little wet because we got a lot of rain yesterday, but it'll work just fine. All those little white things in there are seeds. And so I break apart those, and I will just literally spread them around. Just spread them around the bed, and they will grow. We still have time in the year for those things to grow. And we've had a lot more. It's coming down to the end of the year, and I actually have not spread quite as many seeds as usual in here, but yeah. So the zinnias are in here. We have our onions, our Egyptian walking onions. The Egyptian walking onions are a little behind this year, not because of the weather, but because of me. We let this thing get a little overgrown. I have been busy this year, and so I haven't had the time to take care of the garden like I like to. But these Egyptian walking onions, I'm looking for a head. They grow up a single stalk with a head of bulbules, That head gets heavy, falls down, touches the ground, grows another plant just like these. But they're looking a little sparse right now though. I just tossed aside a couple of snails doing a canoodle dance. Where'd they go? Oh, there's one. They do get snails, though I never see snail damage on these. So these are green onions. They're great for picking and cooking with. We love them. Mrs. Bowtie occasionally will ask me to come out and grab a handful, and she uses them. We have a ground orchid, Chinese jet ground orchid, and the new plant here. In fact, this new plant, I like watching for tough plants. Let's take a look at where this came from. So I tend to like the tougher plants, and I like that these this grass grows so readily, but you and I both know that's a little much. However, looky here. You know what this is growing in the middle? That is mint. Oh my goodness, that is mint just growing through the grass, this thick grass, out of this pot right here. There is a pot right here, and it is still growing. We know mint is tough, and yeah, that's really cool. However, there's another one over here that I wanted to show you. There's another pile of grass. There, you can't see anything here. You notice this? You cannot see anything. I happen to know that underneath here, though, is a plant that I have been keeping an eye on. And it's no surprise for anyone that's grown it. Ooh, that's a Biden's alba right there. We'll be pulling out shortly. But do you see that? Do you see that purple stem right there? Do you know what that is? What is that? That is a wandering Jew. And it is still surviving underneath there. And if I pull back these grass, these vines of grass, look, there's another leaf right there. And another whole plant underneath here, just looking gorgeous. And that earns this plant a spot in my garden. A very nice spot. I need ground covers, which that's what this is. It's a spreading ground cover. It does well in our environment. Now I did notice is that a bite out of there? I can't tell, but this still looks alive. But I'm gonna work that out of there and put it in the pollinator bed, the front pollinator bed, in fact. It'll make a great ground cover, and I'm pretty sure the giant zinnias that I'm planting next spring will be able to grow through it. So by the time I got it out of the pot, there's actually 4 plants in there still surviving underneath all that grass. Look at these roots. I'll break up these roots real good. Ooh, wow, that is solid. I'm gonna have to cut them up a little bit, do a little root pruning on these in a few places to activate them, to let them know they are not stuck in that little pot. Anyway, this is a pretty bad case here of being root bound. In fact, it might be one of the worst cases I've dealt with, which I know it can get worse, but it was pretty solid in there. I'm gonna do one more right here, and I am literally just cutting those roots around the edge, just slicing them like that. And that will stimulate those roots to start growing outward. They will start putting out little runners. I don't know how this thing propagates. I don't know if it propagates from runners, or if it propagates, it touches and propagates again. So there's different ways these things do that. We're gonna find out. So I buried it to where the top of this is about the same height as the soil around it. I'm gonna have to do a little dressing up on this weed matter around here, but I think I'm gonna let this thing grow into the ground. I'll keep the living stuff pulled out, but I'm a little worried that this thing won't make it if I traumatize it too much more, and I don't want to do that. So this is the soil I dug out of that hole, and it will be watered automatically in the morning. So there is my wandering Jew, and be sure and subscribe see our monthly updates. This will appear, and it's right here in front of this Chinese ground orchid, which has a little bud on it, a little pod right there. I don't know what that is. I don't know enough about that plant yet, but yeah, there we go. Very simple, folks. That's the only message if nothing else gets through, that's the message I want to get through. Don't complicate it. So it doesn't look very impressive now, but yeah, this is the Wandering Jew. It's already got leaves falling on it, but I think it's going to be very, very happy here. It grew great underneath that pile of grass you saw, and that kind of encourages me about how it's going to survive here. So we'll just have to see how that goes. It is a spreading plant, and we will allow it to be a kind of a ground cover around here. I grow a lot of zinnias in this bed, so they'll grow up through the sparsely covered ground, and I'm hoping, yeah. So if I come up over here, you see we have our milkweed over here. I need to get these in the ground. Jim, I'm sorry, I have not got these in the ground yet. Have you tell me if you've gotten yours in the ground yet, Jim. I'm still kind of debating on where to put it. I need to do it sooner than later though. Okay, so these big plants here. This one is brand new this year. This is a brugmansia sanguinea, a red angel trumpet. Does not have any flowers on it, but it is going to be the red version of this yellow version of the same brugmansia. And it's called angel trumpet. It is, now folks, if you have kids, if you have dogs, I don't recommend this because it is toxic. It is poisonous, and we have it up here kind of into the property where people won't get it, but it is starting. There is a bee there. I have never seen a bee there. There's another bee. Okay, I didn't know that bees got on here. I thought maybe they thought it was not good for them. There are bees on these, but these are just beautiful. Now, this is a little different this year because it's one stalk with a bunch of flowers on top. There is another stalk over there. Next year I'm going to do a better job and cut it off somewhere where it can go into 2 or 3 branches like it's done in the past few years. See if I can find a video from last year where this thing looked gorgeous with just more flowers than you can count on it. But that one over there, this one has been here. This is its 3rd year here. In fact, it's right at, no, wait. 1, 2, yeah. No. It's been here 2 years. A little over 2 years, and last year it was the best it's ever looked. That one over there is brand spanking new this year, so that kind of shows you where this one was its 1st year. It didn't really develop a lot. It is October, Halloween, so we have our one token Halloween decoration. I know, it's kind of weak. Okay, so that is the front pollinator bed. I think that's everything. There is a couple of Yarrow down there that I need to tend to, I see. We have a bag of mint, which is looking a little haggard right now. I need to come in here and trim this, but I always pull out these trees out of it and grasses out of it like that so that it stays mint, but it's kind of flowing over here. It's kind of got spent, so I need to just trim those extra branches off, and this thing will come back. Clear out the leaves. It'll be fine. This is a chocolate mint. So back here behind the sycamore tree, we have our back pollinator bed. We have our little bird bath, which really needs to get cleaned out this time of year. The leaves fall in it faster than I can keep up with it. It looks terrible. Behind it we have a lot of amaryllis here. We have more amaryllis over to the right here. This will be full of amaryllis come spring. There's one there. I've tried to kind of start spreading them out. The amaryllis, you plant a bulb, the next year it's going to have multiple bulbs. And so yeah. Now this Thai plant right here, Ti plant, we have 5 of these in here. We have one short one over there that I mowed. You can see in the previous videos, that's it right there. It doesn't look as purple because it didn't get the sun. This whole area was covered in weeds, in Biden's alba and whatever this new weed I've got is. It was covered in those and didn't really get a chance to develop this year, but it's growing strong. It's focusing on its roots. There are zinnia in here, but not, oh, in fact, there's a butterfly right there. Look at that. There he goes. Sorry, buddy, I made you nervous. Is he gonna land? Look at there. There, he landed. So yeah, they like those zinnias a lot. We have a bunch of those in the garden. Started off with one, then two, and now they're pairing off. There's so many they're pairing off. And I see them flying together and fluttering around the flowers. We have, well, stay tuned for the raised garden bed tour. That means subscribe so you don't miss the raised one, where we have big zinnias, the giant zinnias that are just gorgeous. Okay, so we're coming around to the upper two of the tier gardens. The reason why there's a brown spot here, I had actually spread a tarp here to kill the grass to build 2 more beds. There's eventually going to be 5 beds here that look just like this, just going down the hill. We're coming up on our big project and time ran out, and so I decided just to uncover it. I moved all the bricks that were in the middle here, and I can mow this. I still want to get these bricks out there. That I put those bricks there a couple of years ago, in about 2.5 years ago, in the hopes of building the beds, and it never happened. I only have so much energy. My projects take over for work sometimes, and yeah, it just gets a little hectic. That's all. The one tomato plant we have here from Jim, I mentioned him earlier. This is a German pink tomato. We are trying these out here. I have been watching buds fall off still. And in fact, there were some buds right in here somewhere, right there maybe, that I showed in the last garden tour, and they fell off, of course. I don't see any buds down low. It is an indeterminate, so it will continue to grow up and up and up. And I'm looking for any more oh, there's some. There's some buds right there. We'll have to see if those develop or not. I don't know. His have died. This is kind of underneath the back edge of the sycamore, the north edge of the sycamore tree, so it's got shade. It had a 50% shade cloth over it for the summer. Just still trying to figure these things out. So yeah, these white pipes here, there was a 50% shade cloth that covered this whole thing. Now let's talk about the plans for this for next year. And I think we have made it official. If you have not seen our loofah yet, oh my goodness, go back to my profile page and look for the playlist on loofah. We have loofah vines back there that cover 70 feet of our back property line and go into the property, both my property and the neighbor's property. It is enormous. So we're gonna grow one loofah plant, probably right about even with this post, and then another loofah plant even with the opposite post on the far end over there. We're gonna do 2 loofah. I'm gonna keep them trimmed back to this arch trellis, and I'm not using shade cloth next year. I am just letting it go. See how much it can cover. They're beautiful, beautiful yellow flowers. Remember I said that we do yellow and purple here? In fact, that's why we have the angel trumpet here. But, and the Thai plants just down over here on the left. That's the purple. We try to focus on those 2 colors. Boy, the wind is just picking up. It is wonderful out here. Sun is still doing that wispy shine through the clouds thing too, so it's nice. We do have some of these Thai yardlong beans back here still, and I've nibbled on these, but we really didn't like the development of them, the way they kind of shrunk up between the bean. That's a bean there, and it's not as meaty in there, so we didn't really. In fact, Gardens Happen is the fellow that told me that, and I thought, oh, that's cool. He actually loves these things. We just didn't find it as pleasurable. And so I don't think we're going to grow this again, though it is a neat plant. It's still producing, just amazing. There's those 2 beans. I mean, look at these things. These things are over 2 feet long. Not quite a yard long, but they sure could be if given more space. We have a lot of weeds in here. I haven't done much care for this, which I'm sure affected the development. But and you can see here, we have some that have that are drying out. It's still a little soft. We could, in fact, I probably will collect some seeds because I don't think I have any more seeds. for these. So I'll probably collect them just to make sure that I have them. So, and coming down here, we have another chocolate mint. I'm trying to get the chocolate mint in the front yard and the peppermint in the backyard. Those are my favorite 2 mints so far. I do like what the Chicago gardener is doing and trying out a bunch of them. I may have to do that and order some extra mints to say, okay, order some extra mints this year. I've been following her journey. She just ordered those a couple months ago, and yeah, it's been very interesting. But I do like the chocolate mint and the peppermint. We make teas out of them. We stick them in water. All kinds of stuff you can do. If I turn around over this way, we have what we call our asparagus patch. We do have one asparagus plant right here, and it did provide us with some asparagus. And I see down here, here's a new shoot that's just ripe for picking, and I know I'm not supposed to pick it this late in the year, but I'll bet you Mrs. Bowtie would love to eat that. Asparagus. Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it. Go ahead. Try it. You like it. In it goes. It's crunchy. How's it taste?
It's good.
Yeah? Like
puny, but good.
Well, yeah, puny. They're always puny.
No, actually, it's very good.
Yeah, it's tasty. Oh, that was tender. I saw that. I thought, I'm going to give that to Mrs. Bowtie.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That was delicious.
All right. That's what I wanted to hear. So, yeah, that's our one surviving asparagus plants, which is actually now 2 surviving asparagus plants, which is very cool. It's neat to see them propagate like that. I would like to have this whole area covered with asparagus one day. And this year, maybe we can get some seeds planted in November. Or no, over the winter, because you want to plant these in the fall. They're a perennial. They'll last for 20 some odd years. So yeah, that's asparagus. It is growable though. We have a couple of basil plants surrounding a strawberry plant in there. This is a new planting here, kind of just filling in some space. I have friends that come for the basil, and they will pick that on occasion with my overwhelming permission. We have more basil than that. There's more Amaryllis back in here that's looking very strong. There's a couple of these are giant Amaryllis, which I'm very excited. I think that one over there is the giant. I can't remember. So yeah, that's looking really good. The grape arbor is looking a little bit weathered. In fact, if I come around here to the other side, you can see the first signs of fall. Now, I did mess this up this year. I had a harvest in July during the garden tour, and I never picked it. And by the time I got out here for the August garden tour, I remembered the birds had taken all my grapes. So, got to do better with that. These are Scuppernong grapes, and they came from a friend. I do want to double the length of this arch trellis and grow another kind of grape in the back there. But we're going to try again next year, hopefully get more. We will be trimming this, doing some proper vine treatments on this. So be sure and stay tuned, subscribe so you don't miss that if you want to learn how to take care of grapes. I was very happy with how they came out this year. They grew prolifically, and so I think we can do even better next year. And then we come down to this side yard, and here, let me remind you what this looked like before, and now what it looks like now. I did a lot of work here. In fact, I actually took the week off because we're getting ready for our next big project, and I did a lot of work in the garden because I may not be getting out here over the next month or so, and wanted to get some of this done. There was a tarp that was enclosing some soil that I was trying to refurbish. If you watch the end of the second part, we'll look at the compost and you'll see how that went. It was a video from a while back. I'll try to find it and link it to it in the description or comments below, depending on the platform you're in. But yeah, that is cleaned up. That's why there's a even browner spot right there. I cut off all the grapevines that were escaping into that mess. It was all covered with, of course, the Biden's alba. The bees love it. I like this stuff, and I like this stuff because the bees love it so much. The ivies that were growing in here, I've got most of them cleaned up. You can see the white flowers up there on the blueberries. They are the marigold vines. Is it marigolds? I can't remember. They are the invasive vine. They're not planned. They are native and they are invasive. I've been fighting these. I pull those off every year. This is the normal thing. And I pull them down all the way to the ground down there, and they will grow up again. It's just one of the weeds we have to battle here. So I'm very excited. I started to pull up some of the weed fabric that's underneath all of this. You can see it over there. Some of you may remember there was a palm tree right there, a big palm tree. In fact, here's a picture of what I dug out. It is massive. And this bulb down at the bottom here, it was buried. And that's how these palm trees terminate at the bottom. And you got to get that bulb out to take the tree out. So I'm very happy to have gotten that palm tree out of there that's been hunting me for 3 years, folks. It's been growing and growing. I got to keep my... I didn't know about palm trees back then, and I got to keep my eye on the development of those palm trees. A little better. So all the pots, of course, there were a ton of grow bags and pots and everything through here, and they are, of course, all gone because I took them away to a place where they can get processed. I do still have, we have right here in the terracotta pot, the citronella plant that is kind of struggling. That's not the citronella plant. Is it? I don't see any citronella in there at all. I think, oh, that's right, it's this thing here. It's kind of struggling because it got buried under all the weeds, the grass, and everything that was growing over it. And so I'm hoping this will come back. It was in really bad shape. It was struggling. That's another one in that far pot right there. They were sitting underneath the grass that was right here. The mess that was right here. They were buried. So anyway, yeah, this weed fabric goes all the way, this 2 6-foot wide, all the way down to the palm tree and then back behind the palm tree. And I want to pull that all up, get the, okay, so mistake time, folks. I made a big mistake here. I was young. No, I wasn't really young. I was not as knowledgeable as I am now. I put the weed fabric down. I put about 2 inches of wood chip on top of it. I'm not the person that's going to take care of that. That needs to be tended to every year. And all I have now is a weed-covered mess that's grown into the ground through the weed fabric. And this is a really good DeWitt weed fabric. It's woven, it's UV protective, and it's excellent stuff, but I should not have buried it under the inch or two of wood chip, because this is the result, this massive overgrowth of weeds. So I want to get it all off here. This area, big announcement here, this area I want to grow watermelon next year. We are all ready to have watermelon on this bed. We've had it in the outer garden, part 2 of the garden series. You can see we have watermelons growing back there this year. They have come to the end. I don't think we're going to get any more, but this is going to be a beautifully sunny place to grow watermelons next year. So yeah, there were a lot of pots. In fact, there was a huge pile of grow bags right here. They are gone. I have a few things that I need to go through up here. We just did this. That's that lantana that I'm kind of watching. It's growing seeds, so I want to plant those seeds around the garden and have more lantana. My wagon over there. This is another pile of compost that I'm leaving set for a while longer, and we'll process that. Probably put it into the beds. It's been sitting here for a while now, several months. So, the blueberries are exactly where they're supposed to be. I do keep these vines off of them, and they are very invasive. I know, they're invasive, and I do a pretty good job keeping them back. The first year I did this, I pulled off, well, the previous owner wasn't living here, and no one was maintaining it like I am, and for, I don't know, a few months, and these things had grown over the whole area here, and I had pulled out a ton of this ivy. However, I do see new growth. That's a new growth. There's a lot of new growth in here, which is what we want. I need to get in here this winter and cut out some of the more woody stuff that is in here and thin it out so it can start growing new growth for the next year. So yes, that's the front and side gardens for October 2024. I cannot believe how much has gotten done. I worked all week on this. I say all week, I did other stuff too. I edited more videos, I recorded videos, so I haven't been full-time in the garden, but I have done so much. I'm sore. Got some challenges that I got to rest up from before we dive into this next project here in just a couple days. But stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the other garden tours. We do 3 a month. We do this front and side as the part 1. The outer garden beds is part 2, and the raised garden beds is part 3. Each one has completely different stuff in it generally, and I enjoy recording these videos. I watch these videos over and over, so because they remind me of things that I got to do. Sometimes I'll be letting them play in the morning while I'm getting ready for work, and with it playing in the background, I'm like, oh, that's something I got to go do, and I'll go do a 30-second project, 5-minute project that I should have done already, and then get back to getting ready. So these are, again, my personal log of everything going on in the garden. You are so welcome to join along and see what happens. I try to cover the lessons that I learn as well, and the experiments that we're doing, so you can see how things go. If you subscribe and continue watching through, you'll see results of experiments every once in a while, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So anyway, the wind is getting a little bit breezy. This little system blowing up in the Gulf here is supposed to go off the peninsula of Florida. I don't know how much it's going to develop. We are not going to get much more than just some rain from it, as far as I know. Helene, oh, by the way, Helene did not hit us. In fact, the very edge of the rain of Helene was about 5 miles that way. We were just barely inside the farthest reaches of the rain of Helene. It was nothing more than a rainy, breezy day for us, which was, we were very blessed for that. My heart goes out to everyone who lost so much. It is heartbreaking to see so many people, Bree and Ellis, Art and Bree. Art took a hike in to check on some family. They drove across the state to check on family, and they took us along on their videos. I really enjoyed watching that and seeing what was happening. And we're seeing a lot of heartwarming stories, and we're seeing a lot of people that still need help. So keep those people in your prayers. Find places to support. I will mention Jess over at Roots and Refuge mentioned another channel that has a really good list of nonprofit organizations, reputable ones that you can donate money through, and that's a wonderful list. Oh, I can't remember who it is, but anyway, maybe if I can find it, I'll link it down in the description or somewhere below. If I can't find it, I'll link to her video that talks about it. So anyway, yeah, that's about everything I can say about the garden for this month. I'm out of energy already. Y'all have a blessed day.